Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor who's been selling homes in North Texas with more than 21 years of experience. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with top community leaders, local businesses, and real estate industry experts to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. This episode you are going to find so helpful. Everyone's hearing the buzz, short-term rentals. Well, what does short-term rentals really mean? Well, I had Amy here, and she's with A+ Management, and she is our guru expert on short-term rentals. And welcome, Amy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Guru and expert, not sure about that, but we'll definitely have a great conversation about it.
Well, let's set the stage. Let's talk about your property management, a fellow realtor like myself, and let's just talk a little bit about you yourself first.
Sounds good. Well, when I started in real estate, I was in the sales side for many, many years, and an opportunity came up to own a property management company, and I said, why not? Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So went into property management, and boy, we have seen a lot of changes over the years. Yes. A lot of long-term rentals. Now the hot buzz is short-term rentals. Right. In the news a lot lately, you hear STR this and STR that. Yes. So the short-term rental being a rental less than 30 days is what they're really focusing on. Right. Most people associate it with the big ones, the Airbnbs. Right. And so I've actually had my real estate license. It was 30 years last November.
Yay!
I know.
Cheers for you.
I know. Forever ago. Got my license totally by accident, and been doing it ever since. So it's one of those things you don't grow up saying, hey, I want to be a property manager, but you get into that business and it's kind of stuck. So been very blessed to see some great things happening in our industry, and a little concerned about this whole STR situation and short-term rental situation. It's been a very, very hot topic, and it's been something that's been very concerning overall.
Definitely. And we're seeing, our pro advocates, obviously those that have the properties, yes. And then our cons. And so let's kind of dive into both sides of it. So, we'll start with those that are, for it. Go for 4 first. Okay. And why, it's such a hot, obviously, income.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Airbnb and the short-term rental thing started, it was just to rent out like one bedroom of your house. Yeah. It was to maybe help offset some of your mortgage costs, right. Be able to help you with your investment. And then it grew into a situation where people could rent entire houses, yes. Through the short-term platform. They were kind of hitting a niche that the hotel industry couldn't handle, right. Which was you have a big, huge major event, a PGA golf tournament, a Super Bowl comes to town. Right. The hotel rooms just weren't enough. And so people said, hey, I could rent my entire house, and 3 or 4 groups of people could come, and different parts of their family could come together, rent that house together instead of renting 5 or 10 hotel rooms. Right. And so, and at a premium cost. Yes. And they said, I could pay my entire mortgage just by renting it for a weekend over a Super Bowl weekend. Yeah. So that's kind of how it all started. Okay. And now it's gotten into people actually buying properties for the basis of putting them for short-term rental. Right. So we've seen that huge shift in the dynamics. So on the pro side, it's been great. People have been able to buy property, right. Invest in our communities, have additional opportunities for rental when people do come to town for those larger events.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I see you and I see when they do come to town, whether it's a wedding, maybe they all want to stay together. Right. Families are you're seeing now, and I think especially, after COVID, maybe that was something that kind of triggered people wanting to be more together, and they feel that togetherness that they can be in one place versus in individual hotel rooms, and that, kind of a more colder feeling. This is more warm. They can all gather together. They can visit. They can have a, great time. I see it for graduations as well. Those kind of events. like I said, weddings and stuff like that. So it is a pro, that we're not in here in Dallas. It's not like we're at the beach where that's very popular, we're not that kind of, destination, but we do have other destinations.
Yeah.
So
we've also seen a large need for it when we have natural disasters here. When we had the Snowmageddon back a couple of years ago and houses froze and people's pipes busted, people needed long-term housing, but they needed furnished housing.
Right.
And so those properties filled a huge need for people that lost everything during the ice storm. So definitely a need for it.
And there is a need. So let's kind of switch gears and talk about those that are opposed, the cons of what we're seeing on the effects in, I think, one, maybe some people abusing.
Yes. Well, I think the biggest problem that they've had is large parties that have come in. It's one thing to rent a house for the weekend or for a wedding.
Right.
You come in, you get together with your family, you attend the wedding, and then you leave town. Yeah. It's another thing when you bring 15 or 20 people together to have a party in a house, to rent a house specifically just to have a party. Living next door to that's not so fun.
Right.
So I was recently appointed by the Collin County area realtors to serve on the Plano task force for short-term rentals. And there was a lot of community feedback to Plano that they did not want short-term rentals in the community. So we spent 9 months working together to try to find a way to make it where everybody can live together.
Yes.
And most of the conversations and the frustrations with short-term rentals were parties, noise, trash, parking, and other nuisances. Yeah. And honestly, nobody wants to live next door to that.
Right.
So that causes a problem. You want to be able to have the opportunity to stay in those houses if you visit a city or you have a large event. But you also need to respect the people that live next door and live in those communities. So Plano was really tasked with trying to find a way to make it all work while trying to make everybody happy.
Yes.
And unfortunately, everybody's not happy.
Right. No, we all know we can't make everyone happy.
Can't make everyone happy. Yeah. Dallas tried to make everybody happy. Yes. So Dallas last year in 2023, they came out and said, we're going to ban short-term rentals if they're not in a multifamily area. So single-family short-term rentals out of the question. They're going to be banned. And then the lawsuits started. And that's been pretty typical of what we've seen across the state. Arlington, Grapevine, Fort Worth, Austin, all have had the same exact situation. They've come in, they've put parameters in place to outlaw them or severely restrict them. They have been met with lawsuits that have either forced them to overturn their rules and regulations or change their rules and regulations. And so as of Monday, Plano decided no more new short-term rentals. The existing short-term rentals are grandfathered in.
Okay.
There will be some registration requirements for those people. And they could probably get a pretty penny for those properties now.
Yes.
Because those properties are grandfathered in. But going forward, no new short-term rentals for now. I would expect that, as with every other city,
yes,
there will probably be some litigation that takes place, and that may change what happens even in the city of Plano, just based on what we've seen in the other areas. So,
and I think on the con part, for those that are looking for that. I mean, I've had clients come in, they bring their family in. They'd rather stay in a short-term rental for maybe they're here for a week to go house shopping. Mm-hmm. It's much more comfortable. It was a family of 5 because grandma was there, and they all wanted to be under the same roof. So they were able to do a short-term rental for a week and a half at a nice, place, and everyone be under the roof. They could, if they could leisure, they could cook if they wanted to. They didn't have to eat out that whole time being here. So it does actually allowed them comfort, allowed them, also saved on some expenses as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where we're going to start to see some of those pains with those people. And also there's people that, I've had clients who are like, I just need to, I'm having, some work done on my house.
Right.
And I just need to be out of the house for, 2 weeks, So where do they stay? They don't want to stay at a hotel. They want, a little bit more comfort. And, so those people are going to be like, well, what do I do? You know? Right. So I think that's a struggle out there.
Absolutely. I think overall, legislatively, the governor has said, he supports private property rights. Yeah. And if you purchase a property, you should be able to rent it, whether it be short-term, long-term, et cetera, as your right when you purchase that property. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the legislation does going forward. Correct. One of the things that has been kind of troubling to some of these cities is that there is a law in place that says if you purchase a property and it is allowed and you take that right away, the city may have to compensate you for taking away the right to be able to have a short-term rental. So that's why I think the grandfathering was so important for them to put the grandfathering in place there to protect them there. But private property rights is a huge issue.
It definitely is. On the flip side, if they're in an HOA, it's different. Mm-hmm. And we've seen some of the HOAs ban, or not ban, but restrict their rental policies.
Yes.
And they can do that. They have every right. But I think when it goes the next level, going to the government, that's where the people are saying, okay, they're in an HOA. They understand. Just like anything else, you may have to have your landscaping approved before you do it, or whatever it is, or paint your fence. Right. So you understand when you're buying an HOA, there's rules to abide by. But when the next step is what we're seeing is the city's getting involved in those decision makings, that's where the people are having the issue on it.
Right. Right.
So, and I think I could see both sides. I don't want to have a party house next door, but I do see that family that is coming into town, like I mentioned, for a week to house shop. How lovely would it be to be able to, I would like to do that if that was me. So
how cool would it be to be able to stay in a short-term rental to try out the neighborhood before you buy in that neighborhood?
Well, definitely, because you could really, take a look at take your walk in the morning, meet neighbors, talk to them about the neighborhood, about the area, why they love it. I always tell my clients, when they're house shopping and they love a house so much and they are asking me about the neighborhood, I always tell them, I love the neighborhood, but you got to have that feeling. So why don't you walk it? Why don't you, maybe you'll meet a neighbor and they will do that. And they'll always come back and say, I met this neighbor, he was doing his yard and I was just talked to him. And it was, what a great idea. So
absolutely.
And we're friendly here.
Absolutely. Welcome to Texas. Everybody come on over.
We talked to the trees.
That's true. That's true.
So what I know we kind of are talking now for the future. We see it in Plano, we're seeing it in Dallas, all these other cities that are getting impacted. And we're starting to see what do we really think the impact is going to be in this rental, marketplace.
I think you'll see some short-term rental owners convert them to long-term rental. Yeah. We do have a very strong long-term rental market here, which would be leases for a year or longer. We don't have a whole lot of furnished long-term rentals. And so we've kind of supplemented that with the short-term rentals for years. So we may have to find some new creative ways to help people that are looking for furnished. Right. But yeah, I think there'll continue to be long-term rental and long-term investment in properties here. But short-term investment, my phone has been ringing off the hook about this ever since it hit the news in Dallas last year. People calling and saying, oh my gosh, I have a short-term rental. What do I do? Can I keep it? Can I not keep it? Right. Should I convert it? Should I sell it now? Should I sell it later? Do I sell it as an Airbnb and a short-term rental? Do I convert it to a vacant house and then sell it? And that's when you've got to find a trusted realtor that is plugged in and knows what's going on.
Yes, no. And I've seen it in Plano over the, few months where it was, I'm telling my client, well, this was an Airbnb.
Yeah.
You could kind of tell.
Yes.
And they're, selling it. But I think furnished, to your point, would be a great thing. And, I think you'll also see, since a short term is really 30 days, we'll see those people that will be like, well, can you stay,
31 days?
Yes, or 40 days, because that would not be a short-term rental.
Correct.
So I think we'll start to see those people, going outside the box like they do at everything.
Yes.
And, stretching it as far as they can get it to, but, again, if you're remodeling a house, we know that could be, the contractor says 30 days, always say 45.
Yes,
maybe
absolutely.
60.
Absolutely. I do that call often. My house, the contractor says it's only going to be 6 months. I'm like, plan on a year, just plan on a year, especially after COVID. COVID changed so much of our world, and we're still having trouble in some sectors being able to get the building materials and things that they need. So, whatever the contractor tells you, just double it. It's always a safe bet.
Well, let's, on the rental market, let's just talk also, we've got our, those people that, you've got a short term, you're a little nervous right now. Let's talk about the pros and cons of, maybe converting it to a long term. If you're kind of on the fence that, do I want to deal with what's all going on right now?
Sure.
And I'm trying to weigh my decisions.
Right. Well, some of the things that you have to take into consideration is most of the long-term rentals are unfurnished. So if you've got a fully furnished short-term rental, you got to do something with all that stuff.
Yes.
So that's a challenge. Typically, the short-term rentals are able to charge a premium.
Yeah.
So you're getting a premium product at a premium price versus the long-term rental. So if you made all of your calculations based on short-term rental revenue, it would be definitely a little bit of a shock to go into that long term.
Yeah.
The beauty of the long term side is you don't have the turnover. You have kind of a guaranteed rental income coming in, where the short term can kind of, but depending on needs and supply and demand, it can go up and down, and maybe rented for a while and then not rented for a while. So there are pros and cons to that. But I think we are going to have some people look at that to decide they want to hold on to that asset. It's hard to find good assets sometimes on the investment side.
Yes.
Interest rates, we all know, are just a little out of whack right now. We're waiting to see what the Fed's going to do and when they're going to do it.
Yep.
So a lot of uncertainty. We've got in the political climate, who's going to be president, what's going to happen with all that. And I've always found that, in any time we're in election year, people are very nervous, not sure what's going to happen. What will the election do to the stock market, to foreign markets? Because they bounce off of us.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't make those big decisions to purchase when we're in these volatile times.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people that do have the investments already will hold on to them and then convert them into long-term. And maybe some of the short-term operators will say, you know what, I'm done with the messing with it. I'm just going to let it go and sell it. So maybe it'll bring some more inventory to our market.
There we go. We do need inventory.
We'll always need inventory.
We do need that. But yeah, I mean, I can see if you're making, knowing what they charge, if you're making that, you said, that kind of income on a property, and then you see what I'm actually getting, on a per month basis for a long-term rental, it can be a little bit of a sticker shock.
Sure.
But, again, on the other thing is, it's kind of depending on your portfolio. Maybe if you had a whole bunch of short-term, you may be liquidating some and keeping some. Which ones are going to, be the best, location, which ones are going to stay rented, and maybe which ones looked that area is appreciating to keep, in those that maybe you can maybe make some money off of. Maybe the time to liquidate those and put them on the for sale market where we need the inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know there's so many people that are, buzzing, going, oh, I've got that short-term rental. I don't know what to do. Amy is here to help you. If you have questions on, navigating in these different cities, what are the implications? What do I need to do? A lot of stuff is right now in the works, obviously in Plano, since it was just passed.
Yes.
And so she may not have that answer for you in Plano right now. They're still working it through. Yes. But she'll be happy to give you a call. Well, this has been so educational. I've learned a lot. I'm sure my viewers have too. And here's to lots of changes in 2024.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify, as well as Kimberly's YouTube channel. If you'd like to contact Kimberly directly, you can email her at kimberlywoodard@ebby.com or call 214-632-2092. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week. And remember, don't just love your home, love your community.